Welcome to Knit Tea Live. I might be here on my own today. That's okay. Because whether you're here right now or you're watching on the replay, welcome. It's been a while since I've done a live stream. You might hear my daughter outside the door because she's home right now. But yeah, it's time for Knit Tea Live. Or I guess we're not, right now it's not technically Knit Tea Live. Baby, I'm on right now. Technically, I'm not calling this Knit Tea Live for the month of December. I'm calling this Livemas because right now it's December and on YouTube it's Vlogmas. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that and what that means for me. And then today I'm going to share with you some whips that I have, some finished objects that I have. One of them is back here. And then I'm going to share with you some shopping for this year's Fasten Off Yarn Along 2022. If you are interested in that, I have the link in the chat. And after the live stream is over, I will pin a comment with show notes that will include this link as well. If you want to check out Fasten Off Yarn Along 2022. But yeah, I'll get into more details about that as we go along. I also have a little bit of an update on those two guys, just a teensy weensy one. And yeah, this is going to be a pretty casual hangout today because honestly, I haven't scripted anything. I just want to have a chill live stream, even if nobody shows up to watch. Oh my God, so embarrassing. Anyway, let's talk about, first of all, Livemas. For Vlogmas, what am I talking about? Okay, so if you don't know, on YouTube, during this time between Thanksgiving and Christmas, there is something called Vlogmas that a lot of people take part of, and I'm kind of trying to do something for it this year. I don't have time, however, because of life stuff, which I will get into, to shoot a whole bunch of videos and edit them and put them up on a regular basis for the next 20 odd days or so. So I'm doing it live. I'm going to do live streams, definitely each weekend. This weekend and then the next 2 weekends, I'm going to live stream for Livemas. And I'm figuring out what this is all going to look like because I've never done it before. But then I might, if I have time and energy, throw in a random live stream here or there throughout the week. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I don't want to overcommit myself because there is a lot going on in my life right now. There just is. I'm kind of limping towards the end of the year. But I'm going to get into all of that. So anyway, but here's the thing about Vlogmas. It's something I've never really taken part in because frankly, for me, this time of year is very low key. I'm Jewish, so I don't celebrate Christmas. So I don't have a lot of Christmas content. I think that would be rather inauthentic to me to have a lot of Christmas content. So I don't do a lot of Christmas. I do celebrate Hanukkah, but Hanukkah is kind of a low-key event. You know, we do some things for my daughter and, you know, she gets some presents and there's some decoration and things. But it's very low key. I really, this time of year, try to take the pressure off. I do the opposite of what so many people feel like this time of year, which is this tremendous amount of pressure to make all this holiday magic. And, you know, frankly, for me, it's like, I always find you can't make magic. Magic happens in the unexpected. And I always feel like if you're putting so much pressure on yourself to make everything magical and special and decorating and all of that, and if you're not enjoying it, then there's no magic to be had. You know, if you enjoy all of that and you're having a great time doing all of that, then do that. That's great. But I think sometimes the joy gets sucked out of it because we feel all this pressure to make all these memories. And it's like, it just doesn't work that way in my experience in life. The other reason, though, this time of year tends to be very low key is before the pandemic, we always traveled for the holidays to go visit my parents in North Carolina. And ironically, this time of year, not this year, but usually this time of year has just been a little slow work-wise. So it made for a good time to travel. So that's the other thing. I've never done a lot in terms of decorating my home for Hanukkah or anything, because it's just like, we're traveling. We're going to travel. And the first year, the panini was the first year in my adulthood I did not go back for the holidays to see my family. And, I really just enjoyed the low-key nature of it. So I've just sort of kept with that. That's my tradition, is I do a big Thanksgiving dinner, and then I kind of forget my birthday is in 2 weeks, and then I'm shocked that my birthday is next Sunday. I'm kind of shocked that my birthday is happening, and then I'm low key for the rest of the month into New Year's. And that's my holiday tradition. So if you would like to have a space during this time to come and feel just like, hey, it's low key. There's no stress to finish presents. There's no stress to wrap things. There's no stress to make everything look beautiful like it belongs in like a Martha Stewart magazine that no longer exists. This is the Livemas for us, because it's going to be low key. So that's just sort of my rambling explanation of my Livemas. Again, I don't know exactly what all of these are going to look like, because I'm totally making this up as I go along. I have no idea what I'm doing. You get to enjoy the experiment. So yeah, that's kind of my introduction to my. It's almost an anti-Vlogmas, I feel, and not in a bah humbug kind of way, not in a grinchy way. I don't want to steal anyone's joy. It's more in just a no pressure kind of way, anti-Vlogmas. Because sometimes I feel like if you see everybody like going like full out, you feel this pressure to keep up, and it's not necessary. It's the holidays. You should enjoy it. So, let's look at some whips. Or no, I'm sorry. Let's look at a finished object first. And then after the finished object, I will tell you a little bit more of a life update. By the way, if you're joining the live stream, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. Let me know you're here in the chat. Let me know what you're working on, what you're partaking of any beverages. I'm just drinking my coffee. And yeah, if you're joining in the live stream, feel free in the chat to let me know anything you'd like to share. There was something I was going to say, and it just completely went right out of my head. Okay, so finished object time. We're going to start with something small here in this bag. I'm gonna count this as a finished object. I haven't woven in the ends, but I'm still counting it as a finished object. I just have to weave in ends. I'll probably do it this afternoon. And look, it matches the stole I'm wearing right now. It's because this is made from the same yarn. These are just wrist warmers that I made. Whoops. My screen went wookie. Here's the other one. I didn't do any kind of pattern for this. This is something you don't need a pattern to make. These are just wrist warmer or fingerless gloves. It's just a knitted tube of 1x1 ribbing that I casted on stitches. I have about, I think my wrist is 7 inches. Or is it 9? I have very small wrists. So whatever a very small adult wrist is what I have. But I cast it on, I think, 44 stitches. And then I worked 1x1 rib up into a point where I thought a thumb would be good. Then I knitted flat back and forth for a large enough thumb hole. And then I rejoined in the round and knitted the rest of the way up. You do not need a pattern for this type of wrist warmer. It's very simple to do, but they're very warm. The yarn this yarn is the Valley Yarns Northampton, which is a 100% Highland wool yarn that's sold on yarn.com. You can also find it on Lovecrafts now, because Lovecrafts bought Webs a couple of years ago now, at least a year ago now. But yeah, I love this yarn so much. This is like my favorite workhorse wool. This is the same fiber as the Knit Picks wool of the Andes, but I like this yarn even better. Yeah, I do. I like this yarn even better than the Knit Picks. Happy holidays, Donna. Thank you so much for dropping in. So glad that you're here. This yarn, so if you don't know what Highland wool yarn is, Highland wool is actually a crossbreed of a merino sheep and a Corriedale sheep. And so it's not as soft as merino, but it's still really soft. But it also just has a little bit more oomph to it, is how I would just describe it in the very descriptive way. A little bit more oomph to it than merino. And I love this Northampton yarn from Webs. Absolutely love it. I buy it when it's on sale. I get it all the time. I'm not affiliated, by the way. They don't do an affiliate program. But you can also get it on Love Crafts. If you're interested in buying this yarn, Love Crafts does sell it, and I do have an affiliate link for that down in the description box. If you'd like to help support my channel and use one of my affiliate links, you can get this yarn through Love Crafts. But yeah, I just need to weave in the ends. I made these. I really enjoy them. It's really great, this type of project, if you have like just some leftover yarn from some project, because you don't even need a full ball. In fact, I don't know. I think I started with a full ball and I still have this much left of it. I could probably I might be able to make 2 smaller ones still from what's left over. So you don't even need a full ball of yarn, depending on how much yarn is in, how much yardage is in the yarn. But yeah, love these. These are really great for typing if you're like me and you get cold during work, but you still have to work at your computer. This is great. So I just need to weave in the ends. Other thing that there we go. What other finished object do I have to show you? I guess I have to show you the big finished object now. And it's this right here. This, and I'm going to actually take it off the mannequin and show you right up close now. This is the half hap fade shawl. It's hard to show on a live stream, but I do have pictures of it being blocked on my Instagram. And I think there might be a video about it as well on TikTok. I'll talk about TikTok in a little bit. But yeah, this is my half hap fade shawl. This is by Lavish Designs. I think she's taking part in the Fasten Off Yarn Along this year. In fact, I bought this pattern last year during the Fasten Off Yarn Along, and I finished it a couple weeks ago. I blocked it. I just need to trim. I still have some ends. They're woven in. I just hadn't trimmed them up. Thank you so much, Donna. Thank you. It's a really, I'm going to just snip the ends. Actually, I'm going to finish it with you right now. Snip. I wove in the ends before I blocked it, but I left the tails in case there was an issue. So I just need to snip them now. There aren't that many ends to this. I only had 3 ends. There's the other one. I only had 3 ends that I had to weave. There we go. Okay, now it's done. Yeah, so this is a lace project. It's a triangle shawl that starts with this center triangle lace panel that's knit from the point, and then you knit up, and then you bind off the top of the triangle. Then you pick up stitches along the sides and you work each lace panel. It was a lovely, lovely lace project to work. I really enjoyed working it. The yarn that I used was a discontinued yarn called Angora lace, but you can learn more about Angora and that yarn in a video I did this past year on Angora lace. If you want to know more about Angora, you can see it just drapes beautifully. It worked up so nicely. The lace patterns, there are several different lace patterns that this is comprised of. There you go. You can see each one of them. And each one was actually very easy to memorize, which is always nice with lace work. They weren't really complicated lace patterns. I would say the most challenging part was there is a knitted on applied lace edge which is this part. It's not difficult to knit, but I would say it was just the most challenging part of it. Blocking this went really well. I got the Knit Picks blocking wires. Knit Picks blocking wires. I have a YouTube short when those came in, and I used those to block it, and it made blocking this lace project so much easier using blocking wires. So if you like knitting lace as much as I do, blocking wires I think are worth investing. And you don't need anything fancy. Like, they're just long wires that you insert into the edge of a project, and it just makes it much easier to block it. Blocking this went really well, but I did have to do 2 blockings. I did the first blocking, and there's a photo of it up on my Instagram. And I just didn't get everything opened up as much as I wanted. Like, it wasn't as wide or as long as the finished dimensions. And so I went in and I did a second blocking. I reinserted all the wires in, and I used a spray bottle to wet the fabric, and I just stretched it more. And I think I actually got worried that I was going to overblock this, but I didn't. I don't think I overblocked it. So yeah. Loved this project, really loved working on it. I could see myself working it again. So I would say this project, I would rate 10 out of 10. Highly recommend. Really enjoyed it. So yeah, those are my 2 finished objects. Let's see. I'm just trying to make notes to myself as I go along. 1705. Okay. So, this project I've been working on for a few months. It's one of those where I would kind of put it down for a while and then pick it back up. And I finally finished it while I had a cold. So, like I said, Thanksgiving, I really love cooking Thanksgiving dinner. It's like, I don't know if I put it on YouTube. By the way, if you don't know, I have a TikTok now. I started a TikTok account, and I'm doing stuff over there. I'm not abandoning YouTube. It's just more fun stuff. There's some tutorials, but mostly that is just me kind of like repurposing stuff. I've already posted it here on YouTube. But if you're kind of interested in more of like just me being like doing more fun, quick things, little updates on my life, my projects and stuff going on, follow me on TikTok as well. You'll get like just more of a day-to-day flavor with me than you do over on the YouTube. It's just a different environment, but it's a lot of fun. TikTok is a lot of fun. But if you don't know, turkeys are dinosaurs. This is literally true. Turkeys are dinosaurs. So I always get a kick out of Thanksgiving, and I'm just like, I'm going to roast my dinosaur. But during Thanksgiving, my husband had gotten sick, like a cold or flu, a few days before. And my daughter went down on Thanksgiving Day. And then Friday, I got really sick. And I have a flu. You might hear it in my voice right now. I'm pretty much over the flu, but I'm still recovering. Like, I still have a really bad cough. I'm taking cough syrup just to try to keep it under control. And yeah, it's just like I feel like I'm just limping to the end of the year. But last weekend, while I was like in the midst of having flu, oh no, I finished this before that. I did. I finished this a few days before I got sick. Now I remember it's all coming back to me. I had a week off of work, and so I took that time to finish this and block this out. So I got this finished before I was sick. What I worked on while I was in my sick room, I guess we'll get into fobs, or we'll get into the whips now. I have been working on this. This is actually another pattern that I got. It looks amazing, doesn't it? This is inside out. I'm working on this. This is a stranded color work hat that I am making for my husband. It's called Snapshot. This is it. You can see it here. This is the stranded color work. But I am working this not my usual manner. I am working this using Portuguese knitting. And in Portuguese knitting, it's easier actually to make the purl stitches than the knit stitches. And so I'm working this with Portuguese knitting inside out. And you can tell from the motifs, there's some really long strands going on because there's some long blocks of color before you get to the next color change in some of these cameras. This project, I didn't say, it's called Snapshot. So to manage the long floats, I'm utilizing a new technique to myself called ladder back jacquard. I'm going to do a video on this in the new year because it is a shockingly easy technique to deal with long floats in your color work. So yeah, really enjoying this. I'm actually at the last row. I have one more row of color work to do, and then I'm going to be into the crown shaping. But I bought this pattern last year during the Fasten Off Yarn Along, and I'm making this for my husband. My husband and I have been married for over 10 years now, together even longer, and this is the first time I'm knitting him something. I figure I don't have to worry about any kind of boyfriend curse at this point. Donna, oh my gosh, thank you. You amaze me, Carrie. I'm working on a boneyard shawl and it's taking me forever. Oh, well, first of all, thank you. And don't be fooled. I have been working on this hat for a long time. Because I just picked it up while I was in my sick bed last weekend and really started working it and have just been kind of just obsessively working on it this past week because I'd like to get it finished for my husband before the end of the year. We'll see if I make it. Maybe he'll have it at the beginning of next year. Whatever. He's a very patient man. But yeah, I love this pattern. I should have the name, but I can look it up real quick. By the way, this pattern is why I ended up buying Knit Companion. Which if you haven't worked with Knit Companion is I usually like to have my patterns on paper and not working off of them on my computer or my phone, but the color chart for this was so long. There we go. It was so long. It just wasn't reasonable for me to print it out and I needed a way to work with it. And Knit Companion turned out to be really good. And I am a believer in Knit Companion now. If you want me to do a review on Knit Companion and my thoughts on it and all the ins and outs that I've learned about it, let me know. I'd be happy to do that review. But I'm going to put her name, the pattern in the chat. It is Snapshot Hat and Cowl. It actually, you can work it as a hat or a cowl by Natasha Sills. There we go. So yeah, and again, I got this at last year's Fasten Off Yarn Along. So, I don't remember the yarn that I'm using for it off the top of my head right now. And I don't have the labels in here, but it is a wool and silk blend. I know that. It might be a Northampton or not. It might be another Valley Yarns yarn. But it's a wool and silk blend. It's a sock yarn. It's a teensy bit splitty. It's a little bit splitty, but it's a very nice yarn. And it should be very warm for my husband. So yeah, that's the other project that I'm working on. Put my shawl down there. My other whip that I'm going to show you today is actually a crochet project. Yes. So maybe you remember this. It's much smaller than the last time I showed it. Was it the beginning of this year or was it last year? One of them. I started working on a temperature blanket and I was doing Tunisian crochet. And this is what's left of it. I am actually slowly unraveling it. I'm frogging this out. I have my Nosta pin here. And I've been using that to unravel this and keep the yarn organized as I do so. And I'm repurposing it into a new project, a crochet project, making granny squares. How I'm doing this is so fun. If you follow me on TikTok, you will see the progression of this project because I'm really following that project over on TikTok. But I got these dice. These are gamer dice. that you get like Dungeons and Dragons. They're just really pretty. I don't play D&D, but the dice are just so pretty. And I wanted a dodecahedron. Don't ask me why. I just got into my head that I wanted a dodecahedron dice, and I ended up getting this entire set. So I'm using these dice to make a dice roll granny square. So the way it's working is I have, for the temperature blanket, I had like bought 10 balls of yarn. It's Big Twist, which is the in-house Joann's acrylic yarn. And this is one of the granny squares that I've made with my dice roll. I got a whole stack of them here I'm about to show you. But my granny squares are 6 rounds. And so I use this dice, which is just a 6-sided dice, to roll how many rounds I'm going to do of each color. So if I roll a 3, then I'm going to do 3 rounds of a color. And then I have this dice, which is a 10-sided dice and I've numbered each one of my colors. So whatever number I roll, that's the color for that number of rows. And I keep rolling the dice until I get up to 6 rounds. So my first granny square, I actually rolled a 6, so 6 rounds of one color, and it's this one. This is magenta. So this is the first granny square that I made. And this is literally the first granny square I have ever made. This is it. This is my first granny square. So not bad, I think, for my first time. Just one color. Kind of the fates were on my side, I think, doing that, just saying, hey, the knitting fates were just like, hey, or crochet fates, because this is crochet. Crochet fates were just like, hey, let's keep it easy on you the first time. We're going to just have you do one color. This is the second dice roll, which I really love how this one turned out. It had the lilac in the middle, then 1 round of this teal, and then 2 rounds of this aqua. I think this is like just turned out to be a beautiful colorway. And it's a really nice kind of study in color value, because this has this aqua is a light color value, and then the teal is a dark, it's a color value, and then the lilac in the middle is this medium. So it's a nice kind of study in color value. Then my second one, this is my second granny square from the dice roll. I only rolled 2 colors for this one because it's 1, 2, 3. Yeah, this pink, it's a light rose, was 4 rounds. And I actually rolled a 3 rounds for the second dice roll, but I just then do 2 rounds because I keep it at 6 of this light blue. And this would be really pretty for a baby blanket, don't you think? This kind of like light rose and then this aqua. It very much reminds me of a baby blanket kind of situation. I do feel like this granny square would have benefited from like 1 round of another dark color, because the color value of these 2 yarns are so close. They're both very light, but there's enough contrast in the colors that they don't blend together. So it kind of works. But I think that if there was just 1 darker color in it, it would have just popped. But it's very pleasant. I think it's a very pleasant granny square. And then my latest granny square, which this is the Christy McVeigh granny square. I rolled the dice on this on the day that she passed away. And my TikTok features one of my favorite songs that she wrote. But this is the Christy McVeigh granny square that I rolled on for her. And it has the teal, navy blue, and then the magenta. And I really like this one. I really, really like this one. The navy blue is showing up probably very black on the computer screen, but it's a navy blue. It's really nice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just make all these granny squares, and then I'm going to piece them together into a blanket when I got enough, or I run out of steam. Excuse me. Sorry. Barking in my chest. So these are my granny square. This is my granny square project. If you want to follow along, each dice roll, I'm doing a TikTok on it. And yeah, if you want to follow along with me doing that, I'm kind of featuring it over on that platform, but I'll keep it up to date over here as well. what else? I think the other work in progress that I have is a project that I have shown here before, but I'm still working on it. I'm nearing the end. I think I'm just kind of slowing down on ending on it because it's such a special project, and that's this. I'm in the middle of a round here, a row, round row, round row. I'm in the middle of a row here, but this is the lace scarf project that my mother-in-law actually worked on. And I inherited from her. Let me show you the right side. There we go. There's the right side that I have inherited from her. If you don't know, my mother-in-law passed away earlier this year. And we both shared a love of making things. It's something that we bonded over. Yes, bonded over the years. And this was the project I always saw her working on. The first time I met her, she was working on this project. And so I inherited this from her, and I'm finishing it. And I'll have this. And when my daughter is old enough, she will get this scarf that her grandma and her mom, my desk is a little full, have both worked on. So I'm finishing that very soon. It's like I'm kind of nearing the end of it. The last ball. There's part of me I think that doesn't quite want to wrap it up because then it's like this door closing. And I mean, I have actually other projects of hers. When we went through everything, she had several projects in progress, and I kind of have taken all of them, and I plan to finish all of them and give them to my sister-in-laws and my nieces and stuff. So everybody has one, but this one's just really special to me. So I think I've been delaying finishing it for just, like I said, it'll be the end of a chapter when that one's wrapped up. So yeah, those are all of my finished objects and whips that I have to show today. So yeah. What to go to next? You know what? Let's do the quick those guys update. Okay. What do we say? I'm just going to note the time for later, 32:50. Those guys. So this is it. If you don't know who those guys are, oh, thank you, Donna. Donna, please come to my live streams all the time. I love the compliments. Thank you. I eat them up. That beautiful too. Knitting, though, through sadness for me is very hard. Lost my mom right before the stinking insurrection. Oh, yeah, that is really hard. And I mean, we all process our grief, right? I'm so sorry for your loss. Beyond Boneyard Shawl is actually the first thing I've knitted since all of that. Oh, well, I'm glad that you have picked up your needles again. Because I know for me, it brings me a great deal of comfort. But yeah, I mean, it can be hard too at the same time, right? Because, it's so sensory and it can bring up so many memories and everything. And sometimes we're just not ready to deal. But I'm really glad that you're picking up your needles again and working on a project. And hopefully finding some healing in that, because that's so important. This year has been really, I feel like this year has been a year of a lot of loss for people. And yeah. There's been a lot of loss this year. It's been tough. I feel like this has been a really tough year. There's been some really great things, but it's been a tough year. I know for me personally, and I know for many of you out there as well. And again, hopefully this could be a space that we can just come together and enjoy this thing together. Right. That is funny. Okay, so those two guys, if you don't know, I have a couple of live streams about them, but those two guys are the two dudes who bought the domain knitting.com for $80,000 and just thought they were going to wreck the knitting industry. And really, they have just learned that you don't mess with the ladies with sharp, pointy needles. But they did launch the website. They are putting up tutorials and articles. I have a whole live stream where I critiqued their website. But the thing is, their business plan all along is that the knitting.com website, though content-based, is really a marketing tool for the eventual products that they are going to eventually sell on Amazon. And I've been kind of keeping tabs on them because they do a blog and a podcast on this website called Ecom Crew, and they do monthly updates on their businesses on that website. And it's really interesting because they are not naming knitting.com, but you can tell when they're talking about knitting.com. And I think they've run into some product development problems. Their initial plan was to launch their first products in time for, Black Friday, holiday sales. And from what I can tell, I could be mistaken, but from what I can tell, they have not launched anything. One of the reasons I believe this is they have been kind of keeping it under wraps what they're calling their Amazon store. So I haven't been able to suss it out, but I did go ahead and get their newsletter, the knitting.com newsletter sent to me. I've only gotten 2 emails since I signed up, but I signed up just a couple weeks ago. But I expect when they launch the first product that there is going to be an email blast about it, because that's the point of this website. The point of the website is to have people give them their email so that they can start sending them offers and stuff whenever they do launch a product. But as of yet, I have gotten no product marketing material from them, from what I can tell. So I don't think things are going all that well in terms of I think they're a bit stalled. I think they're going to miss that. What was it? I think in the original podcast, I'm talking in code. If you don't know what any of this is about, again, I have live streams all about these 2 guys, if you want all the backstory on it. But they did an initial podcast when they were announcing to their e-com buddies that they had bought this domain and their business plan. And I think they were expecting in the first year, they were saying they expected to have $1 million in sales. I might be totally misremembering that, but I just remember whatever the number was and the time frame they gave. What I said about it was they wanted to do in 1 year what many knitting professionals haven't managed to do in 5 years. So anyway, I think they're learning that it ain't all that as easy as they thought it was going to be. But I got a rather interesting email from the website of this week where they had a survey up, and I'm going to show you the survey because it's kind of interesting to me anyway. So I think this is the one. Yeah. So here's the survey that they are asking people to do. It's essentially 2 questions, but it's like, welcome. We're excited to see you here in our brand new knitting space. We're working behind the scenes to create trustworthy resources that will help beginners learn how to knit. Because, sidebar, as I say, they insulted all the experienced knitters and they know they can't get us. In the meantime, we like to get to know you better. Taking a few moments to fill out our survey will help us craft exactly the kind of content you're looking for. So they're wanting feedback on what kind of content people who are visiting their website want to see, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it makes me wonder what their traffic is like, if they're looking to get feedback on what people want to see. So tell us about your craft background is the first question. They want to know your experience level. And then if you're in the knitting industry and want to partner with us, tell us a little about yourself and your background. So they are definitely trying to cast a net to find knitting influencers to help with their brand, which I find fascinating because let's be honest, we aren't that hard to find with a little bit of research. And I have to wonder if maybe they're finding it difficult to find any experienced, well-known knitting professional to work with them because they like so made a mess out of rolling out knitting.com and insulted the entire online knitting community in the process. Then their next question is, we're excited to bring you just what you've been looking for. Tell us a little bit about what you'd like to see on knitting.com. And so then they ask, what is it you want from us? And, it's what you would expect. Free patterns, free classes, tutorials, which is kind of a class, knit-alongs, downloadable guides, other. So that's their survey. And that's it. That's all it is. And I just find it so funny. Like, that website has been live now for what? I think it went live in August. So it's been live for about 4 months. And they're already saying, they're going, what is it that people want to read? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is just normal marketing survey, trying to figure out what their audience wants. There's nothing wrong with a website necessarily. It's not necessarily a sign of trouble that wanting to do some market research. I find it interesting that they're doing their market research now, after they started the website and the business. And I find it really interesting that it's 2 questions. What's your experience level? What kind of material do you want to see from us? Like, this isn't real sophisticated market research that we're looking at here, in my not so humble opinion. Donna, are you going to fill out that survey? Sounds like they want to hire. I am not going to fill out that survey. And maybe they do want to hire, but I will not be working for them. No. I don't like to think of the YouTube fiber community as being in competition with each other, because I think there's space enough for all of us, and that we all bring our own special spice and points of view, and we can really, lift each other up. But those two guys I see as my competition, because they're not in it for the love of the craft. And that's not to say that every fiber company out there, or every yarn company, or every craft-based business out there is in for the love of making things. Not by any stretch of the imagination. I am not that naive. But those 2 guys are particularly not in it for the love of the making of the things. And they were highly insulting. I mean, these are the 2 guys, if you don't know. Donna, sarcasm does not translate well in chat. You know what, Donna? That is my bad that I did not pick up on the sarcasm. But that's okay. I don't mind ranting a little bit. Name your price, Carrie. It's too high. It's too high for them. I guess I would have a price. Like, if somebody said, hey, Carrie, come work with us, we'll give you like $10 million. I'd be like, okay. You found my price. But it would have to be like life-changing. I don't think they have a number high enough. I have to call. So anyway, so yeah, that's the little update on those 2 guys. I still am waiting, excitedly waiting to hear what their first product is going to be. I'm just curious. I'm so curious what their first product is going to be. Speaking of product, and also segueing about holidays, my birthday, I am a firm believer in buying presents for yourself. Like, nobody is going to know what present you want for yourself better than you do. Now, that's not to say other people can't get me presents. Certainly welcome to, and I will throw ideas out. But for my birthday, I always make sure I get something for myself. So a few weeks ago, and I did have a YouTube short up about this. You might have seen it, but a few weeks ago, Webs was having a big sale, and they were having, was it 40% off? I think it was 40% off Addy interchangeable needle sets. And there is a needle set that I have been eyeing for 2 years, which is their newest one, which is their Addy squared needles. I love square needles. I have a set of interchangeable Knitter Pride square needles, which I really enjoy. I had bought, just to try them out, a couple of Addy fixed circular square needles, and I really love them, really have enjoyed them. I've been eyeing these needles for a while. It was on sale, and I'm like, how do I pass this sale up? So I ordered them, and they were on back order. So I had no idea when they were going to come in. I've been kind of like checking my email to see if there was any update on them shipping. And then yesterday, my husband's like, oh, you got a couple things in the mail. And I saw this one package. I'm like, I don't remember ordering anything like a package. And then I saw it, and on it, it said Webs. And I was like, oh my God. I literally was jumping up and down like a kid at a Christmas tree. I was just like, oh my God, they're here. They're here. They arrived. Happy birthday to me. I'm so excited about these. I can't wait to cast on a project just for work with these needles. This, guys, is set number 7 of interchangeable needles that I have. And this is my 3rd Addy set. I now have the Addy standard interchangeable needles. I have the Addy long lace tips, which are, I think they're just called now the Addy rocket needles. And I have now the Addy square needles. So let me open up so you can see them. There they are. They are square needles. The Addy square needles are really interesting. Let's see. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see them because of the lighting, but there's this texture on them. It's like corrugated, and there's this texture, and that texture is supposed to help hold the yarn onto the needle while you're working, but it doesn't affect the speed. Like, they're still really fast needles, which I find, which it doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't seem like that would work, but it does. And I know it does because I have worked with the fixed needle. In fact, some of my videos, you probably have seen the fixed needle in it. So yeah, I cannot wait to try these out. So excited to try them out. I just want to cast on another project. I just want another whip in my life, because you can never have too many whips. I don't care what anyone says. This is why, by the way, every once in a while, my live streams get demonetized on YouTube, and I have to tell them, no, guys, whips, it just means work in progress. That's all it means. Don't demonetize me. But yeah, they're beautiful. And the thing is, my other 2 Addy sets are, Addy has changed the coating on their interchangeable needles. The 2 sets that I have are, God, they're probably, are they 20 years old now? They're really old. Not really old, but they're old. They're over 15 years old for sure. And Addy interchangeable, the metal needles used to have, they were hollow brass with a nickel coating. They've changed that. They no longer use a nickel coating. They now use a coating called white brass on their needles. And they're very light. I gotta say, these are very light needles. But and actually, that's why I bought the square fixed needle originally, was I wanted to see what the speed was like with the white brass as opposed to the nickel plated ones. So these are going to be really interesting. I'm very excited. Very excited for them. It's the thing about the nickel coating. I think they changed it because of allergy concerns. And the reason it's interesting to me is I've never had a problem with my Addy needles or any needles that have a nickel coating. And I have a nickel allergy. I have a bad nickel allergy, like bad. But those have never bothered me. But anyway, also really quick about the Addy packaging. I've always loved the Addy packaging because it's very compact. This, though, is different. The older sets that I have, the kind of folder that the needles are in, is a faux leather, and this little like flap here has a pocket on it that holds the cords and accessories that you might have. But this is cloth. It's a canvas woven fabric, and there's a pocket on the back, and the pocket is where it has the cables. Also, they now are giving their sets with little grips that will help with getting the needle onto the cables, because that is one thing with Addi needles. As much as I love my Addi interchangeable needles, and I love them, they're my favorites. They can, when you first get the needles, be a little stiff getting them onto the cable. Part of that is because the way the Addi click system works is actually inside the needle, there is a spring, and you have to press the cable in and press down on that spring and turn it so that the cable locks into the needle. And sometimes that spring is a little stiff when you first put the needle on. Let me test it out now, actually. But so I think they're giving those grips now to help kind of grip the needle. Let's see what it's like here. Yeah, it's a little stiff. It's not bad though. Actually, that's not as stiff as they used to be. Maybe they fixed that problem. That'd be nice. I'm going to do a whole review, guys. When I'm going to cast on a project, I'm going to start working with them. I'm going to give you a whole updated review on these needles. But yeah, they get the two grips. They're stuck together. They're literally stuck together. Let's see. Let's try putting them on with the grip. Guess I'll hold this. Oh, yeah, the grip makes it easier. The grip definitely makes it easier to get that needle on. And the spring doesn't feel like stiff the way that my older sets did. Eventually what would happen is the spring would loosen and it wouldn't be so hard after a while, but maybe they've improved that situation, because that was like my only complaint, really. Well, my other complaint, I wouldn't say it's a complaint, it's just a downside. With the Addi interchangeables is the smallest needle you get is a 4. Other interchangeable sets that have the screw system, you can get down to like a size 2 usually. But anyway. And then the cables, they're plastic cables, but I've always found that Addi's cables work just fine for me. They don't. And the thing that Addi has now, and this set includes, are what are called the SOS cable. You're not going to be able to see it, but in the SOS cable, there is a slit in the cable that you can open up, and you can put thread in so that you can knit in a lifeline. They started giving those with their lace needles, and I hope they're making them just standard with all of their sets now. And the reason for that is because the other type of needles, like the Knitter's Pride, the Chiagu, the Haya Haya, all of those that have that screw system have the hole in the connector where you can put a piece of thread, and that helps you insert a lifeline into your work as you're knitting a row. But you couldn't do that with Addi's just because of the way their system is. There was no hole to put that. So they created these SOS lifeline cables that have the slit in them to put the lifeline. So yeah, these are great. Well, I don't know if these are great yet. Addi's generally are great needles. I love my Addi needles generally. I love Addi needles. In fact, all of my sock knitting size needles, what I've done is I have fixed circulars for Addi's to do my sock knitting because I love them so much. But the only time I don't go for metal needles when I knit is like if I'm doing color work, like the hat that I showed earlier, because for that, for reasons, it's nice to have more grip than what a metal needle will have. So sometimes I do go for my carbon fiber needles, which have more grip, but I generally love knitting with metal needles. And I'm very, very excited to be working with those needles. Let's see, Eileen Miles, I just got Rocket Squared set like that. Yay! We're in the square needles club. If you haven't tried square needles, by the way, I highly, if you want a little present for yourself for this holiday season, I highly recommend trying out some square needles. I have square needles. I have now 2 sets of interchangeable needles that are square metal needles. I'm obsessed with needles. Some people hoard yarn. I hoard needles. I mean, I hoard yarn too, but like I would say buying knitting needles is like its own hobby for me at this point. So I have Knitter Pride square needles, both in interchangeable sets, and I have them in DPNs. And I really like having the squared DPN needles. I'll tell you why. First of all, they're very comfortable to knit with, but also they're metal needles, but I feel like the square shape holds the yarn better. So it's like I kind of get the speed from the square metal DPNs that I like, but I don't worry about them being so slippery that the needle falls out of the stitches. So that's been my experience. Your mileage may vary, but that's my experience. And I think that's part of the reason sorry, just had a thought of like if Addie is selling DPNs with their squared set or not. Because I do like my squared DPNs. Yes, I do. Okay, so yes, so if you are looking for a holiday present for yourself, try out squared needles. They're so nice. Donna, are those square needles more ergonomic? That is the claim. The claim is that square needles are more ergonomic than round needles, that they're more comfortable in the hand, that you don't have to work so hard to hold on to them. Is that objectively true? I don't know. All I can say is that I do find working with square needles, they are very comfortable, and I think it's at least worth trying them out. The other needle that you can, so Addie has square metal needles. Knitter's Pride has square metal needles and square wood needles. Knit Picks has square wood needles that you can try out, which is the same type of material that the Knitter's Pride is. So there's a bunch of companies that have square needles. There's also a company, Collage, which is spelled with a K. And that is, I think all that they sell are Collage square needles. They're one of the first needle brands. I haven't tried them, but I've heard other people recommend them if you want to try square needles out, so you can find those. The other one, and these you can find at Michael's. They're not square, they're triangle shaped, and that is the Prim ergonomic needles. And they have them in straights, DPNs, and fixed circulars. I just happen to have my DPNs right here. I did a review of the Prim circular needle, ergonomic needle. And they are very nice. These are triangle shaped. They're plastic. And I like these quite a bit. My complaint though, like I really enjoyed these DPNs, but they're much longer than I want. I think these are 6 or 7 inch. I think they're 7 inches. Let me see. Do I have a ruler in here? I know I have a ruler in here. Let's see. This is my 6. Here's my 6-inch ruler. So yeah, these are like 7 inches. Yeah, this is like a 7-inch needle. And I really like them. They're light, they're comfortable. It has this weird teardrop tip. You're not gonna be able to see it probably on the live stream, but which you would think would be terrible to work with, but it actually works really well. I just wish they made them in shorter lengths because I like my DPNs to be like more 4 to 5 inches because when they're shorter, I think they're easier to manage. If I were making a hat on DPNs, maybe I'd want this length, but I'm not going to make an entire hat on DPNs most likely. So I really like these. I would buy more of them if they had sizes in shorter lengths. Print, get it together. So yeah, there's a bunch of options if you want to try out non-round non-round needles. The Prim though is not a square; it's a triangle, but they're really comfortable. In fact, I plan on knitting a yoke sweater next year. I have the pattern, I have the yarn. It's just a matter of me starting it, and I'm going to actually try knitting it on a Prim ergonomic fixed circular needle because I want to see what it's like to work with those needles on a project that doesn't involve magic loop or anything. Because I did not like them for magic loop, but I might like them for just like something like a sweater. So yeah. So who wants to look at your Fasten Off Yarn Along sale? I want to look at the Fasten Off Yarn Along sale. I think it's time because we're an hour in and it's time. And I don't know how long my throat is going to last. So Fasten Off Yarn Along, what is it? Do you know what it is? If you don't know what Fasten Off Yarn Along is, the Fasten Off Yarn Along, this is its third year, and it started 3 years ago after the whole Ravelry debacle. You know, when Ravelry updated its website and there were some issues, some accessibility issues. I have live streams about it if you don't know all the background on it, but you can check it out. There's a playlist. But a big thing on Ravelry has always been what is called a gift along, which is when a bunch of designers offers patterns on sale and people buy patterns and then they work on those patterns during the gift along and, you know, are in groups and they chat about it. Well, a lot of people, you know, Ravelry is sort of like refugees. We're missing out on the gift along. And so Kathleen Sperling and Rachie Nguyen put together what they call the Fasten Off Yarn Along. So this is an independent event that occurs across multiple platforms. They have a Tumblr, they are on TikTok. There's a Discord you can join if you want to like be a part of it. And they have a 2-week sales period that starts after Thanksgiving where designers who offer up patterns on non-Ravelry platforms have a certain number of patterns. Sometimes it's their entire pattern library. They offer a 25% discount, or is it 20%? We'll find out in a second. But they offer their patterns on a discount. And yeah, we're going to take a look at the pattern library today. We're obviously not going to look at the whole thing because there's something like over 100 designers who offer up patterns for sale. Hi, Mom. My mom just showed up. Hi, good to see you too. Everyone can say hi to my mom. So yeah, we're going to take a look at the Fasten Off Yarn Along. I'm going to pick out some patterns that I want to purchase. And like, these are kind of like the patterns I end up working on throughout the year because the 2 patterns that I showed you today, 2 of them, the Lavish design, this pattern I purchased last year during the Fasten Off Yarn Along. And the hat that I'm working on that I showed earlier, I also purchased during that Fasten Off Yarn Along. So I just have to get my computer set up, meaning I had to get to the correct tab. Here we go. And let's take a look. So this is the first page. By the way, I do have the link in the chat. But here is the link. If you're interested in it, you can find it in the chat. I'll also put it in the comments if you're watching this on replay. But if you search Fasten Off Yarn Along in Google, you will find the website. Okay. So, sorry, oh, that's my TikTok. That's why. Okay. So the discount period is ending in 4 days. It ends on December 8th. The pattern sale ends based on Eastern Standard Time. That's really important to know. And let's go shopping. I'm going to show you how the database works because it can be a little non-intuitive, but like no complaints because like so much work goes into this Fasten Off Yarn Along. So yeah, it ends on December 8th. It's a 25% discount, and you get the discount by using the code FO2022. So Fasten Off 2022, FO2022. That's the discount code. Now, the thing is, because this isn't all centralized like it is on Ravelry, it's, some of the designers have their patterns on sale on their own website. Some of them have it through a PayHip. Some of them have it through Etsy. You kind of have to go through the database, and it's going to take you to another website to make a purchase. But that code, FO 2022, will be good on any platform until close of December 8th. We're going to search patterns, though. You can search by pattern or designer, but I like to usually search by pattern. And there's some preset searches that you can do. That if you click on one of these, it will take you to that search. So patterns using any kind of crochet, and then you can see adult slouchy turban. You can see those types of patterns. Okay. But what I like to do is use the filter function. So I'm going to go back. And this is where it's a little non-intuitive. You have to click on this filter, and then you can put in what you want to search by. So I want to search by Tunisian crochet because there are more Tunisian crochet designers this year on the Fasten Off Yarn Along, and I always am looking for Tunisian crochet patterns because I really enjoy Tunisian crochet, but sometimes it's harder to find patterns for it. And you can also search by pattern category, all sorts of pattern categories. You can search for adults, children, babies, by yarn weight, by, patterns. Oh, this is a new one. They haven't had this in years past. You can search by yardage. So let's say you have a yarn advent calendar and you have only so much yarn. You can search for patterns by how much yarn you have to work with. I think that is so freaking cool. I'm so glad that they added that this year. Remember, cough in your elbow. And then design features, inclusivity. I'm just going to go ahead for this first search and search by Tunisian crochet. Just show me all the Tunisian crochet. Oh gosh, there are 229 results. Maybe I need to narrow that down a little bit. We do not have time to look at 229 patterns right now. I don't want to look at blanket. Let's see. I'm going to narrow it down to scarves, cowls, to select multiple categories. Like in right now I'm looking at pattern categories. I want to search scarf and cowl and shawl and wrap. You have to control click. Is it control click or is it command click? There, command click. So if you hit command and click, then you're going to be able to select multiple categories like this. Do they have headwear? Miscellaneous. Dress, footwear, hat. All right, that's what I'm interested in. I'm interested in hats. These are the three things I'm interested in. Okay, so now apply. Okay, and now, we've narrowed this down. So we have the Shine Like a Diamond cowl. I got this down to 142 results. I kind of like this Taste of Honey shawl. Let's take a look at this. So you can see I clicked on it and it brought me to the store where I could potentially make a purchase. And I want to get a closer look. I love the colors that she has here. I'm very interested in this. Okay, she used Karen Cakes. I actually have a Karen Cakes. This could be a perfect project for me. Go away. And I like this because it doesn't look like it's just Tunisian simple stitch. Looks like there might be a new stitch pattern that I could learn. It's a triangle shawl. I do like triangle shawls. I like wearing them like kind of bandana style normally. I'm very tempted by this one. I'm writing this one down. Honey crochet shawl. This is on Etsy, so I could just add this to my cart right now, but I'm not going to. It's a beginner. Let's read the details. Easy Tunisian. A Taste of Honey shawl works up beautifully. Is made up of only one stitch, Tunisian honeycomb stitch, and looks beautiful with solid or variegated yarn. Ooh, I am so tempted by that. I am so tempted by that because it is a different stitch pattern I haven't used before in Tunisian crochet. And yeah, that might be a go-to for me. Let's see. Along the Way shawl. I have a couple patterns by Aklori. This is by Aklori Designs. I have a couple patterns by her that I've enjoyed. Anaconda, that's a lace. Anansi, it's pretty. You know what? I don't feel like lace. I don't think I want, you know what? I'm going to add in, I think for Tunisian crochet, I don't want to work in lace weight yarn. I don't know why. I'm just feeling like I want something heavier. So I'm going to add Sport, DK, and Worsted and Aran to my search for Tunisian crochet patterns, just to narrow the field down more. Oh, okay. Now we've gotten down to 52 results. So there we go. Because, yeah, I just don't feel like, for whatever reason, I'm like, I don't want to do lace weight. Oh, that's interesting. Asha Cowl. Aran Weight. Aran Weight is like, it's not as heavy as bulky, but it's a little heavier than worsted weight. Sometimes it's called heavy worsted weight. It's pretty. Let's see. Astrological Shawl by Not Bad Brit. I have worked another pattern, Tunisian crochet pattern by Not Bad Brit from last year, and I really enjoyed it. That's definitely a possibility. Ariella Shawlette. The Ariella Shawlette, that is a pattern that I worked last year during the Fasten Off Yarn Along. I highly recommend it if you are interested in Tunisian crochet. I already have this pattern, but I'm going to put it in the chat in case you all want to remember it. By Not Bad Brit. This is like my, yeah. Really recommend that if you're interested in doing Tunisian crochet. I'm just kind of scrolling through. Bluebell. This is a hat. And I have done a in the round Tunisian project. Surprisingly easy to work Tunisian crochet in the round, but I think this one has actually worked flat and then sewn. But let's see, because I wouldn't mind doing a hat again. A regular length hook, a skein of your favorite sport weight, and a quiet weekend is all you need to make this cozy next step hat pattern. This is written to fit heads, but can easily... it doesn't say. Description. This pattern uses Tunisian crochet technique. It was designed to be with a regular short crochet hook. That tells me that this is construction. This is what I was looking for. Bluebell starts with the headband by making a strong foundation of UK double chain, US single chain stitches. You get a stretchy base upon which to work the rest of the hat. Once complete, the band proper is crocheted in Tunisian knit stitch. The TKS is elastic. After that, it's a case of working sideways with Tunisian simple stitch and a simple repeating lace pattern to make the crown. Yeah, you seamed. So this is worked flat and then seamed. I really like the hat. It's kind of cool, but I don't know if I want to work flat and then seam. I don't feel like seaming. That's my Crisp Peach Shawl. Let's look at this one. I know, it's so much fun shopping with me, huh? A delicious lacy Tunisian crochet wrap with lovely texture and an elegant lower edge. Well, it is lovely. Let's see if we can pop in a bit. Yes. It is. I love the color, but obviously, this is my problem. Whenever I'm looking at patterns, I fall in love with the color of the pattern. And then I'm like, Carrie, you're probably gonna use some other yarn. Like, don't just fall in love with the color. It looks like it's mostly eyelet with a little, like, with an interesting edge. Let's see, a deliciously lacy variety of Tunisian let's see, it uses a variety of Tunisian crochet stitches that create beautiful texture all across the surface of the wrap. Learn skill level, intermediate. You'll be working in Tunisian crochet lace stitches. Okay, well, that could help me go to next level with my Tunisian crochet. It is pretty, so I'm going to write this one down as well. Crisp peach. And let's see, I'll close that window. I should have left it open. That's okay. I think one of those two, maybe both Tunisian crochet patterns. Oh, this Dre hat, I've worked that. The Dre hat, I actually won that as a free pattern last year. This is the other thing with Fasten Off Yarn Along. They have all these contests. Like there's a bingo card contest and there's like a scavenger hunt contest. And like you can win free patterns. I've won like 2 or 3 free patterns each year that I've taken part in the Fasten Off Yarn Along. And the Dre hat is one I did last year. This was my first time doing a Tunisian crochet project in the round. And it was very enjoyable. It was an enjoyable pattern to work. So I would recommend if you're interested in trying your hand out with in the round Tunisian crochet. I'm not going to wear a capelet. Got Pretty's cowl. That looks cool. You know what? I think I'm good on the Tunisian crochet front. There's one other thing I want to look at before I wrap things up. I'm kind of really wanting to limit myself this year. I'm going to switch now to knitting. And I want to look at, I'm going to stick with those same weights. And I'm going to look at, I want to look at hats. And I want to look at, let's see, I want to look at headbands. So let's see, bag, blanket, dress, footwear, handwear, toy, other accessory, maybe other garment. Yeah, let's try just other accessories and see what we get. Search designer. Oops. You can always search designers instead. That's not what I meant. Let's see if I'm still, yeah, all my stuff is still selected. Cool. Apply. And we have 429 results. So Woolly Wormhead, if you are a fan of Woolly Wormhead, she is taking part in the Fasten Off Yarn Along. So if you want to try one of her patterns, this is a good opportunity to score one of her patterns with a discount. I'm just kind of like scrolling through. Oh, let me see this one. This caught my eye. This beautiful tam. I love it. Oh my God. Guys, I need this in my life. I'm writing this down. Aeonium. A-E-O-N-I-U-M. I don't know if I'm pronouncing woolly. This is a beautiful tam. It's decorated with an interlocking lattice pattern, which is created by twisted and traveling stitches. I love twisted traveling stitches. Incorporating into the stitch pattern, allowing the lattice to continue right into the crown. This is gorgeous. This is beautiful. I need this hat pattern in my life. This is a definite yes. Yes, yes, and yes to this hat. Like, I will be not convinced otherwise. I love hats. This might be my year of knitting hats. I don't know. We'll see. Against the current red and wolf design. I did want a headband, and this is a headband, and it involves cables. I hope that didn't go across. I love cables. Let's see. Oh no, this is not the cable hat. This is another hat. Although this hat looks cool. It has that one little neat chain of color running through it. That would be very cool because this looks like one of those hat techniques that probably looks more complicated than what it is. Because that looks like it's ribbing, but then it probably has a traveling chain stitch, a traveling twisted stitch that gets worked around it. Let's see. Sometimes it feels like life. We are swimming against the current, like we have to fight every little bit of progress. But in the end, it's worth the effort. So keep fighting. Okay, this may not be a low-key casual knit if it's about fighting. The hat, on the other hand, is not a fight. Thank you. This hat is not a fight, but a pleasure to knit and wear. One contrast colored stripe that goes in a different direction. The rest of the texture can be a reminder to be yourself and keep swimming against the current. This would be a really good project if you have just a little bit of scrap yarn, you know, like that little bit where it's like it's not enough for any kind of project, but it's too much to just not do anything with. This would be a really good use for it. For the contrast stripe, whatever you do, make sure it is right for you. So yeah, that could be a fun project. I don't know if that's what I'm looking for, but it would be fun. Against Winter's Chill, I think this is the head wrap. Against Winter's Chill. I live in Los Angeles. Winter's Chill is not something I have to be against, generally. Combine warm wool with elegant cables to make a headband, which will help you stay toasty, warm in chilly weather. It is raining. It's not that it doesn't get cold in Los Angeles. It just doesn't get as cold as many other places. Yeah, anyway, just a small amount of DK yarn is needed to start the headband with garter, stitch, edging, and twisting cables on a reverse stockinette background. I'm kind of liking this. This feels like it could be a nice, chill, pardon the pun, headband. And headbands are nice. I feel like sometimes you just want a quick weekend project, and a headband really can be nice for that. And it's super useful. Donna, I live in Colorado. I love that headband. Yeah, you might want to consider this 25% off until December 8th. And it's cables, and cables is one of those things that is that the one? Yes. Cables is one of those stitch pattern techniques that there are some complicated cables, but that's not usually what you find. Most cable patterns are actually relatively uncomplicated. They just look more complicated. And it's just one of those things where it's like with just a little bit of effort, you get really stunning results that people are very impressed by. And you kind of like are just kind of like, or at least I do, just kind of like, was it? It's not that tricky. They're not that tricky to do. But this, just looking at, yeah, these cable crosses look like they might be complicated, but when you really break them down, they're not. It's just a series of left-leaning cable crosses that are sort of offset from each other. And so it ends up making it look like this more complicated twisting than what's really going on. I have that on my list. Ashniak hat. This is by Liz Cork. Liz Cork is one of my favorite designers. I have several patterns by her. Check her out if you haven't. I highly recommend anything Liz Cork. I recommend. Colorwork hats. Do I want to do another colorwork hat? I don't know. I don't think I want to do another colorwork hat right now. Maybe. Alpine Comfort. This is another cable headband. I love cable headbands. Alpine Comfort is a cozy cabled headband. It reminds me of sipping cocktails at the après-ski or zooming down the slopes. Okay, I will never be the person zooming down a slope. I am not a snow person. I am not a skier, but I love the idea of looking like it. Oh, Karen H. Carrie, hi there, not sure, but don't believe I got notified by YouTube. I was scrolling and saw you. The hat with the C string was great. What pattern is it? That pattern, let me go back and find it. As soon as I finish looking at this, this looks like an even more straightforward. There's only the one picture, unfortunately. But I think this Alpine Comfort, from what little bit I can see in the picture, is an even more straightforward cable to do than the previous one. But that it was against the currents. Here we go. I'm going to just roll up. So this other hat, that hat pattern with the one stripe, Karen, it's this one right here. It's Against the Current by Red and the Wolf Designs. And I will put it in the chat as well. Okay. Somebody needs to be blocked. Excuse me. Block. Okay. Sorry for the spam. That's new. I've never had that before in one of my live streams. So Against the Current by Red and the Wolf Designs. There you go, Karen. All right. Alternato. Woolly Wormhead. Another woolly wormhead. You cannot go wrong with a woolly wormhead hat. I swear, you cannot go wrong. And she's such a beautiful soul as well. I've followed her on Twitter for a while. Guys, can we talk for a second? I'm sorry. I'm just so distracted. But I have to talk about this for just a second. I am so bummed. No, but 3. Okay. There we go. I am so bummed by what's going on with Twitter. I have been active on Twitter for a while. If you follow me for any amount of time and you're on Twitter, you probably know this. And you might have noticed I've disappeared lately. And that is because a certain gentleman, I use the term loosely, has bought it and is just making a mess of it. And frankly, it's one of the reasons why I've started being more active on TikTok, even though TikTok is nothing like Twitter, because Twitter is very text-based and TikTok is video-based. That being said, it bums me out and I don't know what to do. Like, I don't want to give up on Twitter. At the same time, I just don't know if I can be active on Twitter. It just doesn't feel safe. It does not feel safe to me. Twitter is a mess. I actually left. I know, Donna. I need to download my archives. I got the archives, so I need to download them. But it's really hard because, like, by the way, I have a Mastodon account. And explaining Mastodon is a whole video in and of itself. I'm Carrie Craft Geek over there as well, by the way. And I'm on something called artisan.chat server on Mastodon. If you don't know what any of that means, you have to Google Mastodon and you'll learn about what all that meant. But I'm not very active on it right now. I try, but it really takes me a while to get active on a new social media. And yeah, I'm really bummed about the situation on Twitter. I mean, Twitter was always a cesspool, don't get me wrong, but it feels like a less safe cesspool than before, and how that's possible is unreal. But anyway, this is the Alternato hat by Woolly Wormhead. This looks like a fairly nice. Oh man, I just want to zoom in more. Let's see. Make this bigger. The picture did not get bigger. The text did. But it looks like, again, this looks like one of those patterns where it's just a pretty straightforward textured stitch pattern. A textured beanie with a little slouch. I love a little slouch. I actually like a lot of slouch in my beanies. I like a lot of slouch in my beanies. And strong lines that add visual interest and character to this classic shape. This unisex hat is worked in the round from the bottom up and is a versatile knit that will showcase hand-dyed and semi-solids perfectly. Yeah, again, this could be a really good project for yarn for an advent calendar, Hank, and any kind of textured pattern like this usually works really well for variegated yarns because it helps break up any pooling that might happen. DK weight. I love DK weight. I love DK weight. It might be my favorite weight of yarn because it's lighter than DK weight is lighter than worsted weighted yarn, but it's heavier than fingering weighted yarn. And so it's kind of like this nice middle ground between the two. So you kind of get sort of the finesse that you have from lace yarn, but it works up faster like worsted weighted yarn. So I'm a fan of DK. Donna, I have to laugh about Twitter though. When I left, all they said was, "Sorry to see you go. Goodbye." Jerks. Not very sentimental over on the Bird app, are they? not trying to keep you. Ooh, amid the snow. This looks like a cool hat, doesn't it? Oh man. I'm thinking, okay, before I go on any further, possibly brioche, but I'm pretty sure this is a slip stitch colorwork hat. And if it is slip stitch colorwork, shockingly easy to do these type of stitch patterns with fantastic results. But let's see if I'm right. Oh no, it's corrugated rib patterns. Ooh, a little more complicated. Amid the Snow is a 2-colored corrugated rib pattern with a few simple left cross and right cross cables thrown in for interest. It is a fun knit that is worked entirely in the round, no seaming. Instructions are both written and charted. Okay, so if you don't know what corrugated ribbing is color stranded work done with ribbing. So I have done a little bit of corrugated ribbing. I don't have them near me or I'd show you, but one of my first socks I ever knit was a mosaic slip stitch pattern, and I did corrugated ribbing at the cuff. And yeah, it's stranded color work, but you're doing ribbing with it. So it's a bit of yarn management. But if you are adventuresome and you don't mind a new challenge, this does look like a really cool hat. This looks like a really cool hat. But I have a feeling this is a hat for an adventurous knitter. Now, I am an adventurous knitter usually. Oof, look at, you know what? I will say this hat, looking at it, and this is what this pattern looks like, would be stunning with a long stripe kind of transition yarn matched with a solid. It would be really stunning. It would almost be like a stained glass effect, I think. Yeah, so it's a beautiful hat. It's a beautiful hat. I still have to work on my second sock summer. Second sock summer. Oh my God, that's so funny. I still have to work on my own second sock summer. Second sock syndrome is real. Second sock syndrome is real. Okay, I'm writing it down as a possibility. I'm intimidated. It's not often I'm intimidated by a pattern. I feel a bit intimidated by this, but it could be really fascinating to try to do this with Portuguese knitting. By the way, Portuguese knitting, if you come in late and you haven't seen it yet, let me get you what I'm doing. I'm making this hat here. Ooh, this hat here. Actually, let me just go to this. There we go. I'm working on this hat here. It's a stranded colorwork hat. That is the motif on the correct side. I am working it inside out using Portuguese knitting. Doing stranded colorwork where you have to carry multiple strands of yarn at once and doing it with Portuguese knitting is really, really nice. It's really nice. The only downside to it, I didn't just throw it on the floor. I have a box. Let me show you my box. This is my colorwork box. Okay. And when I wound my yarn from a hank into a ball, I put a toilet paper roll onto my winder and I wound my yarn onto the core. And then I have I have chopsticks that stick out from the box that I put the yarn ball on. And that helps keep my yarn nice and organized. So this is my colorwork box. Okay. It's very jerry-rigged together. But it's nice. It really does. My yarn is not tangled. My balls are not in my way. Everything stays nice and organized. And that's the thing with the Portuguese knitting and doing color stranded work is the yarns, because you attach one yarn. If you know about Portuguese, okay, maybe you don't know what Portuguese knitting is. Portuguese knitting, you tension the yarn. You can do it around your neck, or you can use a knitting pin, which is a pin that goes on your shirt that you put the yarn on. I use binder clips. I put the yarn through a binder clip, and then I clip the binder clip onto my shirt. You can do the same thing with paper clips. I have a video where I did that. I have a video where I tried all these different things with paper clips and knitting. But anyway, when you do stranded color work, you clip the yarn onto each onto one shoulder, or you can do it around your neck. And the yarn does not tangle up. All right, so the yarn stays really nice and organized. The only downside, well, not the only, the downside to doing it is like getting, like, you can't just easily put your work down. Like, you have to really like sit down and commit to a certain amount of time of work in that project, because you've got to sit down, you've got to attach yourself to your yarn, and then when it's time to stop, you've got to like make sure you keep everything organized as you disattach yourself from your yarn. So that's the only thing about doing Portuguese knitting, is that do you speak Portuguese, Donna? Jana has like this message up in Trico en Português é mais difícil que en inglés. I'm sure I'm butchering that, but I'm assuming this is the translation. Knitting in Portuguese is harder than English. But yeah, I enjoy knitting color work using Portuguese knitting, and I'm probably gonna do. I'm having ideas for next year in videos, and I know like this year I haven't put out as many videos, and that's because why knit inside out then? Oh, great question, Carrie. Why am I knitting inside out? Okay, so in Portuguese knitting, purl stitches are actually easier to do than knit stitches, because in Portuguese knitting, the yarn is naturally in front of the work, and doing purl stitches is generally easier than doing the knit stitches. So when you do stranded color work with Portuguese knitting, it's easier to work inside out because you're able to do your purl stitches. And the nice thing about doing that with the hat is a couple of things. One is you can really see the length of the strand of your floats, so that you can make sure that your floats are at the tension that you want for your hat. The other thing is, remember, when we are knitting hats, it is in fact a three-dimensional object, which means that the circumference inside the hat, all right, is actually smaller than the circumference on the outside of the hat. So when you knit your hat inside out, right, that circumference on the outside of the fabric that is facing you is larger than the circumference of the hat on the inside. So your float is having to naturally travel across a larger distance when you make your float, which means when you turn it inside, when you turn it correctly, right, with the outside of the hat on the outside of the fabric, those floats are going to be naturally looser, if that makes sense. Okay, so there is like getting good tension with your floats theoretically is aided by knitting inside out. But the main reason you knit inside out when you're doing Portuguese knitting and stranded color work is because the purl stitch is actually easier to do than the knit stitch. And again, it comes back to the same thing. It's because the yarn is naturally in front of the fabric when you do Portuguese knitting, as opposed to continental or English knitting, where the yarn is more naturally to the back of the fabric as you're working. So I hope that makes sense. But great question. No, girl, Google Translate. Okay, look, obviously I'm not very fast today. I blame cold. The flu that I've been fighting off. Oh my God, this flu. One day this flu will end. All right. So Amid the Snow is on the list as a possible purchase. Angelica Bonnet. Oh, that looks kind of lovely. By Woolly Wormhead, of course. Like honestly, you cannot go wrong with the Woolly Wormhead pattern. You can almost throw a dart. Iron Knits Anjou Pear hat. Okay, so I like a beanie, but I like a slouchy beanie personally. I don't like it when a hat is just flat against my head. I much prefer, my favorite hats are actually tams. Like this one. I think this is a tam, annular. Shocking, it's woolly worm head. Annular. Oh, beautiful crown. She has beautiful crowns always. Always, always, always. Making use of twisted stitches. I love twisted stitches. That slip around the entire hat. This beret is giving great drape thanks to the silk content of the yarn. Worked from the brim up in the round. This hat is a little bit of luxury and comfort, both in knitting and the wearing. This is beautiful. What yarn is she using? Does she say? Oh, the sample is Alicia Goes Around Bevy of Swans DK. So, but it's a wool silk blend. This is so my type of hat. I'm putting a star next to annular. We're just gonna put a star next to it. Arquato. You know what? I do think I want to look at some color work hats. I have decided. Now I'm talking about all this color work. I'm wanting to look at some color work. So we're gonna look at some color work, and then we're probably gonna wrap things up. So design features, amigurumi, brioche, tuck, cabling, double knit technique. Ooh, let's see if there's any double knit. Entrelock, granny squares, hooded, intarsia, lace reversible, stranded color work. All right. So we're going to look at some double knitting and stranded color work and see what we come up with. We've gotten down to 81, 1 of 50 of 81 results. So we've gotten down to 81 results. This just goes to show how many patterns are in this database. Like we could spend hours just looking. So there's this Alice there, which looks nice. Arrow's hat. Let's see. By Paola Albergamo. She has some really neat patterns. I haven't purchased any from her, but I've really liked the work that I've seen. DK, let's look, Arrow hat. That is so cool. That is just cool. Her patterns, every time I look at one of her patterns, I'm like, that is so cool. She just has cool hats. And it looks like the brim is worked just in garter. Kind of more of a slouchy beanie, which I like. Oh, and there's fingerless gloves to go with it. Shut up. I love fingerless gloves. I do. I love fingerless gloves. This is the hat, though. Arrow's hat with the pairing mitts was inspired by a piece on a school wall near my house. Let's see. The Marlisle technique used for the piece gives an interesting result, so similar to some raw drawing on the walls when the paint is already fading. This slightly slouchy hat is worked in the round from the bottom up, starting from the brim worked in striped garter stitch with yarn held double. Okay. The rest of the hat is worked using the Marlisle technique. I've never heard of the Marlisle technique. We are writing this down. Marlisle technique. We might have to get this pattern just to learn about this technique. And I am not upset about that. Don't love holding yarn double, but sometimes you just gotta, embrace the discomfort. Arrow's hat. Has anybody heard of Marlisle technique? And if so, what do you know? So let's see. Catching up on some comments. I think your husband is going to dig that hat. Yes, I think he is. I know he is. I've already, I was trying to keep it a surprise and I couldn't. Here, I'm going to put that up. I couldn't anymore. I was like, the reason I wanted that hat for him is he is he also works in the entertainment industry. He works in the camera department. He loves cameras. So yeah. I love slouchy hats too. I know slouchy hats are the best. Mine too. Love tams. We have the same kind of hair, long and curly. Yeah, that's just it. When you have hair like this, long and curly, You don't want hats that squish your head because then your bottom of your hair just fluffs out and you look, it doesn't look flattering, okay? And it squashes the top of your head, and then you've got like hat head, and ain't nobody want hat head. And like on bad hair days, like a tam or a slouchy, you just put your hair up in it and you hide it. It's fantastic. I love that pattern on the arrows. Looks Native American. Yeah, it does have a bit of that feel. I can see that. I think a lot of that is the color, especially in those colors. Donna, you and I, like this. Karen, nothing? Nothing. Nothing. I don't know what nothing it means. Was it because I hadn't responded yet? Oh, Karen said I like slouchy hats too. Yeah. So okay. So yeah, Marlisle technique. You know what? I just want to Google it real quick. I've never heard of Marlisle technique. Marlisle is a simple yet novel technique developed by, oh, let me put this bigger up. So Marlisle is a simple yet novel technique developed by Ann Maltz. Is essentially stranded color work with a marled and twisted texture and textured twist. Okay. 2 yarns are combined with some stitches being worked held single and some held double to create intriguing yet wearable patterns. Okay. So it seems like that hat would be an adventure. Don't know tech. Nada. Is it marling? Apparently it does involve marling. Yeah, Marlisle, which makes sense. Marlisle, marled isle. So yeah, apparently it does. Very interesting. I kind of want to get the hat now just to explore that technique. Yep. All right, let's go here. All right, Arrow's hat, Azula. Woolly worm head again. All right, we're going to just look at this real quick. We have to look. Now this, I'm pretty sure is slip stitch. I love this kind of motif though that like looks like leaves or flames. So cool. Azula is named for the volatile firebender from season 1 of the Avatar. Flames twist and turn around the body of the hat, with each form created by short rows, love short rows, and just a hint of garter stitch and tarsia. Oh, interesting. Azula is the most challenging of the elemental hats and is very much worthy of your patience. Okay, well, I appreciate the honesty that this would be an adventure. Featuring short row color work, each of the elemental hats is just knit sideways and grafted. Okay, so this is knit flat and then grafted together. So this would definitely be an adventurous hat to do. I love short rows. I do. I love working short rows. But I feel like short rows and intarsia might be more adventure than what I want. But I'm going to write it down as a possibility. Azula. Right? We're just in the A's, guys. I think I'm going to. Oh, okay. So Bellitude here. This looks like more of a classic stranded color work hat, unless it's being done in DK or double knit, as in double knitting, not as in the yarn weight DK. A bird sitting in a tree is never afraid of the branch breaking because her trust is not in the branch, but in her wings. Very nice. Looking. Okay, does not say. Am I crazy? Pattern info finished. It's lovely. It's a lovely stitch pattern. I have a feeling it's either stranded color work or it's double knit. So if you want more of that kind of classic stranded color work, this could be a hat for you. Needles, gauge. Ah, here we go. This is a slightly looser fitting hat, so please check your color work gauge carefully using the first 11 rows of the crown chart. Failure to do so may result in a hat that is a little too big. Okay, I think it's stranded color work. Interesting that maybe I'm losing my mind, but I just don't see it, the description. All right, I'm going to, there's so many patterns, guys. I literally could spend all day. That's so cute. Tog words, hat, double. I'm actually trying to get, oh, okay. Sorry. Oh, look at these. These are leg warmers. If you want to knit some leg warmers, there's this, which is the Fotsy Legs by Bunny Muff. This is why I was scrolling down. I wanted to get like into the later alphabet. So that would be a fun stranded color work project. A nice tube, probably not a whole lot of shaping to do. And then down here, this looks more like, this is the Friesa beanie. This looks a little bit more like classic stranded color work, more in the Fair Isle tradition, maybe. Friesa has a set of 2 wintry colorwork accessories inspired by cold northern winters, dark nights, and the ethereal glow of northern lights. Friesa is Swedish for freeze, but I hope you won't freeze in these warm accessories. Yeah, Friesa beanies is stranded colorwork hat worked in 3 colors of DK weighted yarn. That's not unusual. With a lot of times, stranded colorwork will feature 3 colors, but you'll only carry 2 on each row. I don't know if that's the case. You do come across the occasional pattern where you carry 3 colors across a row, but that's pretty rare. Worked in rustic DK weight yarn, these winter's accessories are quick to knit and marvelously warm. This would be, if you haven't done a lot of stranded color work before, this would not be a bad introduction because these are relatively for stranded color work, simple motifs. They're not super complicated. So this might be a way to like just dip your feet in the stranded color work world. Golem. Well, you had me at the name. If you don't know what a golem is. All right, this is the last hat, guys. I can feel my chest is going. Gary, give me a break. Stranded knitting is used to full effect with this charming little hat. Robot-like characters adorn the main body, and the distinctive crown is created through a combination of cleverly placed stripes and the crochet bind-off method. All right, there's little robots, guys. I just happen to have this in my knitting box. I like robots. This is something I made earlier this year. It's just a, let me get here. There we go. It's just a pot holder, but it has a robot. I love this. I love this robot. This is DK knitting. I made this when I was doing I did a couple videos on a tubular cast on and tubular bind off. That's why I made this. But yeah, I like robots. I like robots. I do. I like anything robot themed. Hat is worked in the round with a full 5 sizes included. A chart is provided for the color work. Guys. All right, let's see the crown. I'm sure it's brilliant. Oh, I see the little robots. Oh, all right, we're writing golem down. Maybe I just do all woolly worm head this year. I just buy patterns. So you don't okay, so the crown of the hat looks kind of gathered together. Very interesting. I just like the robots. I love the robots. They're so cute. Of course I pulled out a golem. Of course. Of course I did. Oh, I'm sorry. You want to probably see more of the hat and less of me. So you can see the robot like motif right there. Okay, guys, I'm going to have to wrap things up because as usual, my live stream has gone longer than I expected or planned. We're at 2 hours. All right, so let me go here and we're going to end on the golem. So I have written down a bunch of patterns. Um, um, I have the honey crochet shawl, which is the Tunisian crochet shawl, and the crisp peach, which is a Tunisian crochet lacy project. Um, so oh, thanks, Mom. Mom, just in case she doesn't do a live chat next week, wish her a happy birthday. Thanks, Mom. Mom wants to make sure she also gets a happy birthday in. So anyway, so Crisp Peach, which was a lacy Tunisian project that was rated as intermediate, and I'm very curious. I'm gonna put a star next to that because I want to make sure I'm leveling up my Tunisian crochet skills. By the way, let me know. Do you want me to do a video on Tunisian crochet, like quick introduction on what it is, the basics of it, how you do it? Because it is a really fun technique. Like if you don't know if you want to crochet or knit, do Tunisian crochet because it's like you're doing both. It's a very cool technique. I have several hats here from Woolly Wormhead, and I have wrote down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 patterns. We'll see how many I get. After this live stream, I'm going to go back and I'm going to look at them and I'm going to decide what I'm going to actually purchase. And I will leave a comment in the notes and let you know what I decided on. Also, after the live stream, I'll make sure I'll update with links for my fit patterns. Try that again. I will, after the live stream, I will put a pinned comment up that will have links to the patterns that I showed of my whips and my fobs and everything. So yeah, I like to try to do show notes now. I'm not always consistent about it, but I try to do show notes after the live stream with all the good links and stuff. So thank you so much for joining me today here on the live stream. And thank you for everyone who has been active in the chat. It has been lovely talking with you guys. I'm so appreciative. I was very nervous at the beginning because nobody was here. I got very nervous. But yeah, I've really enjoyed today's live stream. Again, I'm going to be trying to do a live stream definitely this weekend, obviously, because we're about wrapping things up. But yes, I am planning to do a live stream next Sunday, which will be on my birthday as part of Livemas 2022, the Vlogmas fun, the low-key Vlogmas that I'm doing. Again, if you are in a state where you just need some chill out from all the festivities, I am low-key Vlogmas. I am low-key Vlogmas this year. But yeah, I'll have one next Sunday. The weekend after is going to be the interesting one. I might do it on a Saturday instead of a Sunday because I'm getting my hair done and I can't change the appointment and I have to get it done. And then we're traveling because I don't know if I told you this, Mom, if you're still here. End of the year, we're going to Miami to see my father-in-law and take care of some family stuff. So there will definitely, I'm pretty much committing to 3 live streams for this month. And then we'll see if I do some live streams in the middle of the week if somehow I find time. Sorry, I'm laughing at the idea that somehow I'm going to find time because I'm working on the show that will not end. If you want me to tell you more about that, I'll talk to you about it next week. But yeah, keep an eye on my community page where I do updates on what's going on. Also, again, if you are on TikTok or you're curious about what TikTok is, I am on TikTok now. I am at Carrie Craft Geek everywhere on all the platforms where I exist. I'm Carrie Craft Geek. I am not being all that active on Twitter currently because it's a mess, but I am on Instagram. Not terribly active on Instagram, but I am there and you can follow me there. And I've been doing more updates just to stories on the Insta. So yeah, I think that's everything. Once again, thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you have a great rest of your weekend. I hope you have a lovely week ahead. I hope that this time of year is stress-free and brings you lots of joy and happiness, no matter what holidays you are celebrating. So For now, happy holidays and happy health. Bye.